Geshe, did you mean that we read from page 48 and on?
Yes.
Not repeating, going on.
Just going.
Okay.
Yeah. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhiswaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiswatyata 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 Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiswaha. Okay. If you turn to page 3 of the prayer book, the first stanza on page 3, the first 2 lines, which was from the words of salutation of Pramana Samuchaya. This is a text written by Acharya Dignaga, 6th century AD. And the story has it that he was, in fact, Acharya Dignaga, he was the father of Buddhist logic. The father of Buddhist logic, and of course a great philosopher and a practitioner. And he was a hermit. And in his hermitage, he did this. He wrote these two lines on a slate. And in those days, the paper, these things were not so common. He was meant to write the book on the Buddhist logic. When he was doing that, the first word of salutation was made to the Buddha Shakyamuni. These 2 lines, he wrote that, and then he on a slide and kept it outside, and he went for the alms. Coming back, he saw that it was erased. erased. And again he wrote the same thing. The next day he left. Again coming back, erased 3 times. Then on the fourth time, what he did was that he wrote on the slate. He did not write this. He wrote that whosoever erased what I wrote, if you did it out of fun, this is a very important work that I'm doing, and so therefore I request you not to erase this. And if you erase this because you disagree with what I wrote, then show in person. This is what he wrote. And then he left. Coming back, he saw men waiting there in person. Then what for? Debate on the different thoughts. So in those days, the tradition has said that whoever lost the debate, you should surrender, you should be converted to the other tradition. This was in those days the practice. Many times, depending on the teachers, depending on the skill and the knowledge and the acuity of the teacher, sometimes the Buddhists are converted into non-Buddhists. 500 teachers, students all together. When the teachers lost the debate, everybody has to be converted. Then many times the non-Buddhists, they converted into Buddhists. So it depends on the skill and the knowledge and the sharpness of the teachers. So this was what happened. Then the two of them debated, and of course who can compete with Acharya Dignaga, the father of Buddhist logic, and the other one was they defeated. And instead of sticking to the bet, sticking to the rule, the other one started to, he had medical powers. He started to send fires from his mouth towards Acharya Dignaga. And Acharya Dignaga, his robes were burned. And Acharya Dignaga, he really felt, so disappointed, thinking that, okay, look, so I'm practicing the Bodhisattva's path, and I cannot even have one person who is next to me. How can I think of helping all sentient beings? Morning we said, may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings. How can I possibly help all sentient beings if I cannot help even one person who is in front of me? Then he threw the slate in the air, in the sky, and the moment the slate falls down, he was to give up his idea of following the Bodhisattva path. And to his amazement, the slate never fell. So he looked up in the sky and he saw Arya Manjushri holding Arya Manjushri, the Buddha of the wisdom, holding the slate. And then the Arya Manjushri advised him, my child, why should you feel demoralized? Continue working on this book, and this book will be the eyes to millions and billions of beings in the future to see what the Buddhahood like, what the greatest meaning of one's life is. So then he continued this composition known as Pramana Samuchaya. This is in fact his classic work on the Buddhist psychology, Buddhist logic, and the Buddhist path, Pramana Samuchaya. Okay, so these are 2 lines, and these 2 lines in 7th century AD. This was in 6th century AD, Acharya Dignaga, 6th century. 100 years later, Acharya Dharmakirti, 7th century Acharya Dharmakirti, he is a great proponent of Buddhist logic. Then he saw these 2 lines. He was so fascinated by these 2 lines, and he wrote a whole commentary on these 2 lines. And that came to be known as the Pramana Vartika. This one is Pramana Samuchaya. Pramana Samuchaya is the compilation of valid cognition. Pramana Samuchaya. Compilation of compendium of valid cognition. And what Acharya Dharmakirti in 7th century, what he wrote is Pramana Vartika, a commentary on valid cognition. Okay, so he wrote a whole commentary with 4 chapters, and the commentary on these 2 lines is the chapter 2.
Chapter 2 is the commentary on these two lines. And chapter 2 is consisted of 283 stanzas. And 283 stanzas, if you read it, you will not understand it. You need a whole commentary on this. Huge commentary required. Okay. So this I'm going to explain, these two lines. Of course, the huge 283 stanzas and the two big volumes, but I'm going to explain this in a simple way. Okay. So the point is, as what we discussed this morning, that we are seeking something. We all, whether you are Buddhist, non-Buddhist, whether you are male, female, educated, uneducated, or respected, unrespected, it doesn't matter. Everybody is seeking something. You agree with me? Everybody is seeking something. Whether you believe or non-believer, you are seeking something. Seeking happiness, seeking to get rid of miseries. This is what we are seeking. So when we seek something, particularly what you seek, when that is very complicated and sophisticated, we need the help of a guide. So the question arises, finally what we seek can be boiled down to two things: to get rid of all the miseries and to get the maximum happiness. This is what we are seeking. Okay, any idea? Just give me some ideas as to say, what do you dislike in your life? What you are afraid of life? What are the fears of life? So, is it all what you dislike of what kind of miseries you dislike? Just give me some ideas. Any idea?
Something will happen to my family.
Something bad may happen to my family. Very true.
Pain. Physical pain, mental pain.
Physical pain, mental pain. Anything else? Okay. In fact, what we're trying to do here is to try to make it relevant to our day-to-day life, and at the same time look for a greater meaning of life, and to make it relevant to our day-to-day life. So the point is that the miseries that we go through, the pains that we go through, the fears that we go through, whether or not there's simply stop to all these fears. This question, whether or not all these fears will come to an end one day. The point is that don't easily say yes, don't easily say no, right? Be very rational. So the point is, to say no is easy. To say yes is difficult. To say yes, you have to give the reasons. So what we are studying here is to say yes and to study the reasons, right? Okay. So for that, to get rid of all the miseries of my life, to get rid of all fears of my life, whether or not that is possible. Yes. How that is possible? If you look at the history of humanity, we see that 2,500 years ago, Prince Siddhartha, he accomplished that. How do you know that he accomplished that? Here's the next question. How do you know that he accomplished that? In what way he accomplished? What procedures he went through? These are all the questions. So it says, if you read the two lines, it says, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. Say somebody who can be reliable, who we can fully rely on as a guide to take us to the state where miseries will come to an end, where all our happiness will be the full-fledged, or say in its full form. Okay, reliable guide. And if you look in the history of humanity, we see that there are two ways of looking at it. If you look at the history of humanity, there are two ways of looking at it. One, by hearing about Buddhist Shakyamuni. Okay, once there was in the history of humanity, everybody keeps the Buddha statue, whether Buddhist, non-Buddhist, they keep Buddha. Why? Why this is so important? Okay, we are not to follow him blindly. We are not to follow him, believe in him blindly. So just be very rational. Be very rational. We see that there are two things. He's so famous. All the brilliant people are in Nagarjuna, Acharya Dignaga, Acharya, who are so brilliant, they were all following him. But today, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is so brilliant, who can really converse with the greatest of the scientists, and who can really converse with the greatest of the environmentalists, neuroscientists, physicists, so forth. And yet he is following this great, the Buddha Shakyamuni. How come that in what way he is great, Buddha Shakyamuni? In what way he is great? So we go back in his history. We go back in his biography. So this is one way that he's been followed by all these intelligent people. And what makes him so great? So let us not believe in him blindly. Study the rationality by studying his biography. One, and then see to yourself that whether he is somebody who you can follow, and then you can eventually become one like him. One. Another way of looking at it is that we're going to, okay, this great person, what was he when he was teenager? From the teenager, from young, then go causally, you go till the end of, you go till he became enlightened, and how he started then for pains. Two ways. One, start from his enlightened state and then going back in his biography. One, and the one starting from his youth and then going towards the enlightenment. Two ways. Okay, this is in detail what is explained by Acharya Dharmakirti in his book, which is a commentary on these two lines. Okay, so if you see here, it says that one who has eliminated the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector to emerge restorations. It seems very simple. So it has the main thesis and the four premises. The main thesis and four reasons. Four reasons. The main thesis and the four reasons. So the one who has the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. This is the main thesis. This is main thesis. So this thesis is proved by the following four reasons. Following four reasons are motivated by altruism benefit all sentient beings, number one. Number two, the teacher. Number three, the Sugata. Number four, the protector. So these are the four reasons on the basis of which we come to gain conviction that the Prince Siddhartha became the reliable guide for. Okay, the teacher. Okay, I'll explain each one of them. Okay, I'll explain each one of them. The main thesis, and then the four reasons to prove the thesis. The main thesis is that we are looking for a guide. We are looking for a reliable guide. Right? And how do we know that Buddha Shakyamuni is a reliable guide? On the basis of these following four reasons. Right? We are not to follow him blindly, simply because he is very popular, not because of that. It's because of the following four reasons. Okay. So, if you look at his biography, first we see that he was in a palace. He was a prince, he was in a palace. If you look at his biography, he was in a palace, and then he was born. This doesn't say that he was born as a Buddha, he's born as very special. No. He's born as somebody who is, say, above average, the average, compassion-wise, above average, and very intelligent. Very intelligent boy and a compassionate boy. So these are two things that he was born with. And then over the years, through his teenage, he was in palace. And the palace was, of course, in palace is a mundane palace. Which means that you can see all the miseries there. Right? Sickness, aging, death, everything you see in the palace, even the palace. And then worse, how the royal families, they bully the others. All these the prejudices, all are seen by this young Prince Siddhartha. He witnessed all these things. And then number four, he saw how the royal people, the more like, for example, the royal young boys, the princess, and the relations, the royal family, how they bully the people inside in the palace. All he saw. And then he saw the wars happening between the kingdoms, how many people suffer. So he was so disillusioned by all these. And then he realized that if you go like this, nothing will really happen. The world will continue to suffer. I have to look for a way out. So this is how he started the journey. So he's seeing all the miseries in the palace, and from this he could extrapolate this in the whole world. So all the miseries of the world, he wanted to free the beings from these miseries. So this is how he started. It says, the one who has transformed into reliability, this is the main thesis. Motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. This is the initial trigger. Motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. Point number one. Then what he did, he went in search of the path which can eradicate all the fears. What path? For to search the path, first he met with the first teacher, whose name is Alara Kalam, Acharya Alara Kalam. He met the first teacher, and the first teacher, he taught him some meditations, and he reached the same level as the teacher very quickly. And then he asked for more instructions, and the teacher said that, okay, I have nothing more to offer, we reached the same level. And then Buddha again, the Prince Siddhartha again went to look for the second teacher. And second teacher, Udraka. He found second teacher, and the second teacher again, he is more realized than the first one. Again he received teachings from the second teacher, and the second teacher taught him the single point meditation. He reached the same level as the second teacher. Then he asked for more teachings. The second teacher said, you have already reached the final. There's nothing more there. Now there's no point in going elsewhere. You stay with me, and all my students are your students also, so you can guide them. And then the Buddha, of course he respectfully told the teacher that I came here to look for the solution to all the problems. But still what I've learned thus far, what I've experienced thus far is not adequate. This is not the solution to all the problems. So he went in search of the one path. Then finally he found the path of the wisdom of emptiness, which he has to teach to all the beings, to free all the beings from suffering. So the second point says the teacher. The teacher means he has found the path which he is to teach to all the beings, to liberate beings from suffering. Number two is the teacher. Okay, teacher what? The teacher of the path. Which path? The wisdom of emptiness. Now, the wisdom of emptiness, it is like, say, the Western medicine. Western medicine, when you invent the Western medicine, first you have to check it, and to say, what do you call it? You have, in order to seek the approval of the government, it has to go through the test. Go through test. Clinical test. It has to go through the test to say that this is effective, right? So he tested this wisdom of emptiness on himself first, to see whether it really works. So he tested this for 6 years. He's meditating on this wisdom of emptiness, and then what he experienced is the next. What is the next? Sugata. Sugata means the one who has gone to the ultimate bliss. The one who has gone to the ultimate bliss. Okay. So because of the wisdom of emptiness, what happens? He was experimenting into himself. He's meditating on it by himself, and meditating on this light of the wisdom of emptiness, the darkness of self-grasping ignorance is eliminated. When the darkness of self-grasping ignorance is eliminated, the root of suffering is cut. Say, the root of the poisonous tree, it gives rise to the trunk, then to the millions of the billions of leaves, poisonous leaves there. When you cut the root, all these millions and billions of leaves, however millions of leaves they are, they're all dry on their own. Likewise, when he was able to cut the self-grasping ignorance by the wisdom of emptiness, all these millions of the miseries that he was going through, they all disappeared. So he experienced what's the opposite of miseries? Happiness, the bliss. He experienced it. ultimate bliss. That is the Sugata. He became a Sugata. So through his own experience, having tested the wisdom of emptiness as the path to be taught to the beings, he experienced Sugatahood himself, the great bliss himself. And with this experience, then he went to, what is the next point? Protector. Then he went to protect the beings by giving this teaching to eliminate all the self-grasping ignorance and take them to the state of the total protection of enlightenment. Right? So this is how Prince Siddhartha, he followed the path. If this is how he followed the path, now for us, seeking a meaning of life. Seek a meaning of life. What meaning of life? Right? Meaning of life to get rid of all our miseries and to acquire the maximum happiness. If this is what you're able to articulate as your meaning of life, then we need to depend on a very expert guide. And who's that guide? If you look at the history of humanity, rationally speaking, we see that Prince Siddhartha, he actually he proved himself to be a very competent guide through his own experience. So that made him the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. Transformed, meaning that he was not born as a Buddha. He was not born as someone like this. He was born as a prince. So from then he transformed. He transformed into the reliable guide, the Buddha. Okay, if this is how he followed through, this is also what I want. I also want a state whereby all my miseries disappear and my happiness is 100%. I also want to follow that. I also want to experience that. Okay, I also want to reach that level. If you want to reach that level, then you can. It's not that Buddha is someone special and you are inferior. No, we are all same. We can also transform. So this word transform has an incredible inspirational connotation to indicate that we can also, if you put effort, we can also transform and become Buddha ourselves. And there's no gender the distinction. The difference is whether we're male, female, or whatever caste, whatever creed, whatever the background, we all have the capacity to be transformed, to achieve a state where your misery is brought down to zero and your happiness is infinite. Okay, so with this mind, then the next point, this Prince Siddhartha, after achieving Buddhahood on the Bodhi tree, what was he doing? He experienced this Sugatahood, and he was to give teachings to protect the beings. But instead of giving teachings, he remained silent for 49 days. 49 days. He remained silent for 49 days. He did not give any teachings. Then the kings of the gods and goddesses, Indra and Brahma, two of them, they descended, and in fact they were so considerate, they were so concerned. This young Prince Siddhartha, he already became Buddha. When he was Buddha, he was aged 34, 35. At that age he became Buddha and then fully awakened, and yet he is not giving teachings. So the kings of the gods and goddesses, they descended to make requests to him. And then they made requests, made persuasions to him. They made requests to please turn the wheel of Dharma. Turn the wheel of Dharma means please start to give teachings. Please start to give the light of the wisdom to the beings. Okay, so?
Why 49 days?
Okay, this question. Okay, right. Okay, not necessarily 49 days. So he was, sitting like this, and it so happened that Brahman, Indra, they came to know that on the 49th day, they realized, okay, Prince Siddhartha is not giving teachings, right? So it's not that he has to wait still 49 days. No, Brahman and Indra, the kings of the gods and goddesses, they descended on the 49th day. They must have been waiting. They must have been, okay, now is the time for them to come down. Then they made the request, and Buddha, he said one stanza. The stanza that he said is in Tibetan. In English, profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light, non-composite. Such a nectar like Dharma is what I've discovered. Such a nectar like truth is what I've discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I'll retire into the woods. So he said that this teaching is so